Live from Houston, Texas, a show for local business owners. This is Business Houston Podcast. If you're a small or medium-sized business, this is your source for trends, interviews, and tips for winning in today's economic climate. Presented by the BBB for Greater Houston and South Texas. You're listening to Business Houston, and this is your host, Matt Bertram.
Hello, we're back. This is a Business Houston podcast. My name is Matt Bertram. I'm here with Brian Walters with Walters Gilbreath, Wealth Management, right? No, legal practice. No, it sounds great. I really like it, Brian. So tell me a little bit about your background and tell me about your business and how you got it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a fourth or fifth generation Texan. My parents were. My dad was in the military, so I actually got to live all over the world when I was growing up. Came back to go to Texas A&M undergrad and UT Law School.
Yeah.
Then started working for a firm in Austin when I first got out of law school about 25 years ago, and pretty quickly learned not one to be an employee, got to be the boss. Well, I don't know what that says about me, but that's me. So went out and started a law firm with some partners and did that for a while. Took about 5 years off kind of mid-career and ran a triathlon wetsuit company and co-owned it out in San Diego, which was a fun time. And then came back to Texas and kind of restarted what I was doing about 6-7 years ago. And here I am. And I've got a wonderful law partner. I'm based out of Houston. He's based out of Austin, but we have offices in Dallas and now San Antonio, and very rapidly growing, which is an adventure. Growth is, and so we do family and divorce law.
Okay.
Not necessarily the happiest of all topics, but certainly a very important one. And been doing that for counting the time off about 25 years now. So couldn't.
So that really leads well into our next question. So I know some of the data on this. So how has COVID affected the family law business and your business specifically?
Yeah, interesting. I've been trying to get good data for a while about how it's affected things nationally. And the metric you would use is the number of new filings of family law cases. And from what I can tell, during especially the main part of the COVID lockdown, it was down about 30%, which is, if you think about it, not that much. Less than some other businesses, but it seems to have rebounded and accelerated to where the filings are higher than before. Partly kind of a catch-up, I suspect, for people that kind of deferred filing, and there's all kinds of theories that being locked down with the spouse or somebody might not be great for the marriage. I don't know. There's probably some that it was better for, and some that it was worse for. But for us, it's been, other than the first 6 weeks of the lockdown, it's been, and then the first 6 weeks were down a little bit. Then about 2 months, it kind of flatlined. But ever since, I'd say, August or so, it's been going up and has accelerated over the past 3 months in particular. I don't know if that's us taking more market share. I don't know if it's more filings or some combination of both. Hard to tell.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about how you view the process. I know from other family law practices that I've talked to, they're kind of half counselor, half lawyer. If you can maybe just kind of talk about your outlook on family law and maybe some of the kind of cases you deal with, maybe who your ideal client is, that sort of thing, to give people a bit different feel for if they were looking for a family lawyer. Like how you're different than the other ones. So
we get hired as the second lawyer on a lot of cases. So I hear that means they fired their first lawyer, right? So I hear all the time the things that lawyers do not do well. And by the way, in law school, they don't teach you how to be a good business person or how to do customer service. It's very top down, very not helpful. So the number one complaint about lawyers, especially in my business, my type of law, is lack of communication, lack of timely communication, lack of empathetic communication, lack of helpful communication. I mean, I don't know what to say other than communication is the most important part of any relationship, business or otherwise. And lawyers aren't good at it. And I think that that's particularly true in family law. It's, it's stressful. It's Friday afternoon. Do you really want to talk to the client who's called you 6 times already this week? For a lot of lawyers, the answer is no. I'm going to just go home and deal with it on Monday. And we go out of our way to make sure we're available. All my clients have my mobile phone number. All of them know how to get a hold of me, and we respond. So that we try to do that as a way to differentiate on that's the most important thing, I think. There's more to it than that, obviously, but that's number one.
But they need you, right? Like through this process. They're looking at you to help solve their problem. They
Right.
open up pretty a lot from what I've heard. Like, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's not like I'm drawing up a real estate purchase document, right? This is people's lives, their children, money, their family. It's very, very serious. And so, and it isn't on a Monday through Friday 9 to 5. These things pop up all the time. And so you got to be responsive if you want to have happy clients.
And so can you talk about, I know with COVID, everybody's kind of gone remote, but is there certain geographic areas that you kind of focus on? Because I know you kind of need to know the lay of the land in the legal sense of things. And then is there any kind of cases, like it sounds like that they have, like, I guess a lawyer that they were referred to, and then how do they find you? Or like, can you walk through maybe like the specialty why they decide to bring you on as the second lawyer, maybe, go into that a little bit more. I think that's interesting.
Sure.
So.
We handle cases all over the state of Texas, which actually this whole COVID thing has made easier. Let's take Houston, for example, where I'm based out of. And by the way, we were remote with optional coming into the office, and we could run our entire practice off of our MacBooks before COVID ever happened. For a couple of years before, we thought that made sense long before this happened. So it was actually a very easy transition for us. So most people hire lawyers, I think, still based on reputation or referrals, but the way that happens is different, right? In the old days, you ask your buddy or your cousin, and on the golf course, who handled your divorce, and they'd tell you, and it might have been, and then you go call that lawyer and wait 3 or 4 days for them to call you back, and eventually hire that guy, right? Probably that was typical. Might go to the yellow pages in the old days. I'm actually old enough to remember those. I actually bought some ads in the yellow page a long time ago, back when it was effective. But these days things are very different. First of all, there's lots of people in Houston or wherever in Texas that are new, either from out of the country or out of state or other parts of the state. They don't have deep social networks. Plus, people, especially in my type of law, don't necessarily want to talk to people about it. If you're at the office, you might ask, you need a lawyer, a real estate lawyer. You might ask, everybody at the office. You might post on a message board, hey, I need a real estate lawyer, right? You're not going to say that about a divorce. It's pretty private and personal. So people go online. And of course, there's lots of bad information online, but you can go to trusted sources, including BBB, and get information about lawyers that you're looking for that's reliable. And that's where we get a lot of our business, and that's how we've been able to grow like we have and come into markets that we were never in before. When I started out, 25 years ago, you'd have to be 25 years in a market to have your name really out there extensively, especially in a big market like Houston. And so that's now, it's like, now you can be somebody and be a significant player in the market in a couple of years, probably.
Okay, very, very interesting. So maybe talk a little bit more about what being a accredited member of the BBB means to you.
It's exactly that. It's that trust building for people that are looking for lawyers, and or anybody, but in our case, lawyers. And it's one data source, and a very, very important and trusted one for someone to go to and see. Hey, who is this person? Is this a shyster, or is this a good lawyer? That is helpful to people, because it is very hard to find a good lawyer, frankly. And like I said, we hear horror stories every day about the ones that were handling people's cases before. It's kind of not surprising lawyers have a poor reputation, considering some of the stories you hear.
No, I think that's fantastic. Maybe we can just talk about that for a few minutes longer. So how are you putting yourself out there online? Is it through social media, like podcasts like this, I think is a great way for long form content for people to kind of get to know who you are. Or, do you write a lot of blogs, or like, just, can you maybe walk through that if people are like, maybe let's talk about your website. I can maybe pull that up. Like, how are people getting to know who you are? And, they found their first one, they're like, oh my gosh. And, they're going online, and then, what are they finding of yours that are they uncovering? And are there any other differentiating factors about you and your partner that really kind of put you into the, like, yes, we're going to go with this guy, we're going to give him a call box? It's interesting.
Right. Yeah. Lately, we actually have had a bunch of feedback about podcasts. My partner and I started doing one about a year ago. And as far as I can tell, one of the few, if not the only, to do it in our particular field, especially in Texas. And so we've gotten a lot of feedback from that, especially people that are, I think, have really significant cases and issues.
What is it called?
It's called the Texas Family Law Podcast.
Cool.
It's just not a very unique name, but it's kind of says what it is.
Search for it, you find it.
Right. So if you do the search for that, you'll probably find it. So there's that. We do have a lot of content on our website, which when we started doing that, a while ago, that was more rare, but it's fairly common to have a lot of, especially generic content on websites these days. I don't think that's terribly much of a differentiator. What we do on our website that I don't think anybody else does, I'm sure nobody else does, is we try to be completely transparent. I mean, every time I've ever done an intake, and I've done thousands of them, I always get asked the same question: how much is this going to cost? What do you charge? I mean, that's fair, right? I mean, you would ask that before you bought a plane ticket or anything. So, we post that on our website. You can look what my hourly rate is. You can look what any of our 20 or so lawyers that work for my partner and I charge. It's all right there. Amazingly, that's like a state secret to other lawyers. It's bizarre. And then we also have a calculator that'll tell you put in kind of what kind of case you have, how complex, what kind of conflict, and it will tell you approximately, because everybody's different, how long is this going to last? How much is it going to cost? Unheard of in our profession. Again, a state secret. And I don't understand that. And we get that all the time. We get, hey, it's really nice to know what this is going to be. I don't have to call around and then be told by a lawyer, will pay me to come in and consult with me, and I'll give you a rough number. I mean, they can just look it up. So it seems to be.
We gotta check this out. For everybody watching, we gotta check this out, right? So I'm gonna do a share screen, and we're gonna go through a little mock, like maybe a contested versus uncontested, right, or something like that, right? So
sure.
Very different. So let's do a quick share screen here for those of you watching, and great. Landed here on the website, got information about COVID, your firm, services, billing. All right, so where's this calculator? Let's go.
I think it'll be under billing.
All right, billing.
Because that's, attorney fees. So what to expect. There's a video about it.
Cool.
Retainer fees. How. Now I'm trying to remember exactly where.
Here we go.
Use our case budget calculator. There we go.
All right. So let's do. Give me a common one, and we'll do.
A divorce with kids. That's very very common. Right. First one. Kind of medium conflict. Let's say that that there's some some things you and your spouse are fighting about, but not sure. And then I guess hit the blue button. Whoops, that's schedule a consult. I'm sorry. It's a little bit difficult for me to see it. So you can also schedule a consult with us online instead of having a call, which people appreciate. But if you back up, then I'm sorry, went to the wrong one.
4 months. Yeah.
And level of conflict. How much will your case cost? There we go. There's the rough estimate of the cost down there.
So, this is time. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So how long will it take, and how much will it cost? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So this.
Nobody else will tell you that information. It's like it's like a top secret.
And that's probably the biggest question you get, right? So, so Walters. And then Gilbreath.com, and then you go to case-budget-calculator, or you go to billing and you'll find it there. So very, very cool. Very cool. So yeah, no, that's I think really helpful for a lot of people. So I would encourage people to go check that out. Now, is there any, I guess, how does everybody get in contact with you beyond your website and the calculator? And then, is there any kind of closing tip that you have for people that are going through a divorce? I know it's a tough time, just things that you've learned over the years, maybe some advice you could share, or even, advice to other business owners, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. So
sure. I mean, I think our website's the best way, but I mean, just Google Walters Gilbreath or Brian Walters Lawyer or Jay Gilbreath Lawyer or something like that. We'll come up. Both of us are pretty unique names in our field. So, however you want to find us. For clients, I mean, I would say that if you can avoid the courtroom, that's a really good choice most of the time. I know sometimes you can't. Sometimes some problems have to be dealt with there, but the smartest people, figure out a way to resolve these very difficult situations without a ton of time, money, and lawyers, billing them a ton. But like I said, if that's what you need, that's what we handle the heavy cases if need be. For business owners, to me, it seems pretty simple. Provide folks what they want to know, and before they hire you, and then once they hire you, communicate, and you'll have happy clients on the back end most of the time. So,
well, thank you, fantastic, Brian. Just hang on here till the end, and it was great having you on this Business Houston podcast.
Thanks so much for listening. Business Houston puts a spotlight on local small and medium-sized business, interviewing those successful business owners in Houston and those business owners that are winning in today's economic climate. Business Houston is presented to you by the BBB of Greater Houston and South Texas. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at Hugh Biz Podcast. That's HOU Biz Podcast. Till next time, this is Business Houston.